What are the signs of dating a narcissist? If you are uncertain if you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, or you're just curious about what a relationship with a narcissist is like, in this video I'm going to go through 8 signs of a relationship with a narcissist. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Marie. I'm a hypnotherapist and a life coach, and this is the Revelation Station, where we talk and take action on healing from narcissistic abuse. This video is the second video in a 2-part series on Are You Dating a Narcissist? And in the first video, I covered 8 signs of a relationship with a narcissist. And in this video, I'm going to cover 8 more signs. So if you've not seen the first video, you might want to check that one out as well as this one. So the first sign is controlling behaviour. In a relationship with a narcissist, there is really an imbalance of power where the narcissistic person tries to dominate over the other person. They may want control over you or over certain areas of your life and how you spend your time. What the narcissist tries to control specifically can range from person to person. So for example, they might want to control your career, such as what type of work you do or where you work in terms of the location or the company you work for. Or they might just not want you to work at all. And this is different from them just wanting, somebody to be there for the children. They do not want you to do certain things or work at certain places or to have a certain job. Why they're controlling is something we'll get into in a future video. So subscribe if you're interested in knowing more about controlling behaviour and relationships. For me, in my first relationship with a narcissist, they did not want me working far away from home in the city. They only wanted me to have a job locally. They may also try and have influence over who you socialise with, so what friends and family members you see and how often you see them, and even where you see them. So they might not want you going out without them to certain places like bars or restaurants or clubs. And they can also work to isolate you from your friends and your family and put some barriers up, really making it hard for you to maintain these relationships and also to maintain your own sense of autonomy. They may not want you to travel or be apart from them, even if it's something that's really important to you or something that you're obligated to do. And it's much more than them just not wanting you to be apart from them because they'll miss you. You really get a sense that this relationship is on edge if you take any time away from them. It feels like a really insecure bond. They may want to control your actions and have expectations in the relationship that are not equal. So for example, let's say you both work full-time. They would still expect that you would do all or the majority of the housework, the cooking, the cleaning, really anything that they don't want to do themselves or that they feel is beneath them. They would expect you to do these things. They may want to control your finances. So even if you're the main source of income or possibly even the only source of income and they're not contributing financially, they would still put themselves in a position where they control where the money is allocated, or they'll restrict your ability to access and spend money in some way. They may even want to have a say over what your hobbies are and how you spend your spare time, or the sports and activities you participate in. So perhaps they don't like the time that activity takes you away from them. Or maybe they just don't agree with that activity and don't think that you should be doing it. They might also want to control your opinions and your beliefs so that you agree with them 100% of the time. So how does a narcissist gain control over someone and why? I feel like that's a bigger topic, and I'm going to make a separate video all about control and controlling relationships. So keep an eye out for that video if that's something you're interested in delving more deeply into. A narcissist will also want to control your emotions. So for example, if they put you down and they see that you're visibly upset, or they know that that would have upset you, this will give them a bit of a power trip. And this is them gaining a sense of control and a sense of power that feeds their ego. And this is really what is at the center of many of the narcissist's behavior. But it's a temporary boost to their ego when they do this, and this is why this needs repeating over and over again to give their ego a little boost each time. And this is why the narcissist repeats their bad behavior. It's not just a one-off event. We might rationalize or make excuses about, oh, this one time that they did this thing, but when you're in a relationship with this person, over time you realize that this behavior quite often becomes more and more frequent. Okay, so the second sign you're dating a narcissist is put downs. And put downs are insults. They could be snide or demeaning or belittling remarks. And I really like this word belittle, because if you actually look at the composition of the word belittle, it's made up of two words, be and little. And this really, it is what it says on the tin. So it pretty much describes its purpose, which is to make someone else feel small, to feel insignificant, and to feel powerless and unimportant. It's bullying, really. And the belittling remarks act in a way to erode your self-esteem, your self-confidence. And what tends to come along with that feeling of being small is feeling like you're not powerful. And by belittling someone else, a narcissist is attempting to make themselves feel bigger, to make themselves feel more powerful. And not only that, then the other person, if they feel small, they won't stand up for themselves, and the narcissist will continue to get away with these digs and these remarks, and the abuse can escalate. So the narcissist may use put downs as a way to control you, because if you feel small and insignificant and you doubt yourself, you're going to be much less likely to question their behavior. And you're going to be more likely to not only accept their bad behavior, but also to take the blame for it and feel like you deserve it. Your expectations of how you should be treated may be lowered significantly in this relationship, because you get used to this kind of treatment and you just may not have the confidence to defend yourself and to implement a boundary. These put downs and insults and the like may be in front of other people, but sometimes, depending on the narcissist, it's only when you're alone together, or it's only in front of certain people, like in front of other family members that are maybe used to the abuse as well. It might also depend on how much they think that they can get away with in a certain moment or around certain people. Now, the narcissist put downs can be quite overt and obvious, where they're obviously putting you down. They might say something like, you're worthless, you don't deserve that, you don't deserve me, you don't deserve anything, you've achieved nothing. So sometimes the narcissist insults really can offend or upset you, but other times they might be completely off the mark, and you can literally see how ridiculous their comment is. And in those situations, you might be able to laugh it off or just dismiss it. But that doesn't excuse the fact that they have insulted you and put you down. They may also try and disguise their rude remarks as being caring, or that they're only teasing, and if you react to it, then you're just too sensitive. For example, let's say you are trying to achieve something in your life, or you've set a goal. They might respond and say, are you sure you're able to do that? You wouldn't want to make a fool of yourself, not sure if you're experienced enough for that. They might ask questions that provoke like a sense of doubt in you, like, do you really think you can do that? Or I'm only saying this because I'm worried about you. And it all acts in a way to keep you small, and keeping you small works in their favor. They might try and create doubt in your appearance and say things like, oh, if you think you look good, then you should wear it. And there's subtle and implied meanings that are quite confusing, and you might find yourself thinking, well, do you think I look good? I don't even know. The communication is not clear, and this is on purpose. They might make other comments to try and invoke jealousy in you. So maybe they'll talk about other people and their amazing achievements or their amazing connection that they have with this other person. So they might give other people compliments while simultaneously and deliberately withholding compliments and affection and attention from you. And when they do this, you really get the distinct message that you're not measuring up in some way, like you're inadequate in some way. That it's like a put down. They don't come out and say it directly, they just withhold positive praise and attention from you, but then it seems like they will freely give it to somebody else. Oftentimes these put downs can just sometimes feel like they've come out of nowhere and they're totally unprovoked. And you might find yourself wondering, why are they saying this? Why are they being so mean? And if you do have anything to say about their behaviour and you pull them up on it, they might dismiss it for you being too sensitive. So being on the receiving end of these put downs, you might get the distinct message and feeling that you are not in this relationship together, and this is not a team. You are not connecting and building anything solid with this person, because the way that they behave is just destroying any kind of a bond that you thought you had and destroying a sense of intimacy. And at the same time, it can feel really confusing and lonely and hurtful, because in the beginning of the relationship, like I mentioned in the first video when I talked about the honeymoon period, it seemed like they intentionally tried to create this bond and this sense of togetherness. And then when they make these remarks and do things to try and make you jealous and all this stuff, you can feel really confused. Like, why would they purposely try and damage and destroy this bond that they've worked so hard to create? I mean, the truth is that the bond wasn't real and they were creating a false perception of a bond in order to have you bond to them. The third sign you're dating a narcissist is this feeling you have that you lack a real, authentic, reliable connection with this person on a human level. It can be really quite a strange and unsettling feeling that there's just a lack of genuine depth and understanding coming from this person to you. It's like the narcissist doesn't know how to behave like correctly. Like in the beginning, it seems like they make too much effort to connect with you. But then as the relationship goes on, they don't make enough effort. And then other times you get the distinct feeling like you can be sat there with this person and you feel no connection to them whatsoever. And it's a really strange and unsettling feeling that, you know, they're just not connecting with you. It's like there's nothing there. There's a lack of consistent human connection. They don't look at you or really, you know, acknowledge your presence and the things that you're saying. But at the same token, sometimes it can seem like they're putting on a show. Like they're putting on this show of affection, admiration and closeness. And this might be in front of other people. Quite often it is in front of others, and they might expect you to join in with this show of, you know, let's put on this show that we look like a perfect couple, or, you know, we're a perfect family and we're caring and loving and close. And then as soon as other people leave, they just go back to being cold. So there's a real lack of emotional intimacy, and it can feel really lonely in this kind of a relationship because you just don't feel seen. you feel ignored, you feel brushed to the side, like you don't matter, your feelings don't matter, you're not important. So in this relationship, it's really inconsistent and it's all on their terms and it's on their mood. So it's dictated by how they feel, and if they want to feel close to you, then they'll invite that. If they don't want to feel close to you, then they'll push you away. So it's very much a case of conditional love. Whereas in a healthy relationship, people will share in their thoughts, their feelings, their inner world, their vulnerability. They'll be open with each other. And you can feel connected to them. In a healthy relationship, you won't feel connected with them all the time, 100%. You're not connecting with them all the time. You still have time away, but when you have that time away, there's a sense of security and that this bond is still there, even when you're not with each other. But with a narcissist, the bond feels so fragile when you're not with them, or when they're, acting badly, they're acting up. The bond feels really fragile. This doesn't mean in a healthy relationship that you always feel super, super close to someone, but there's much more of a secure bond. So you're able to go off, do your own thing, and still feel like you're in a relationship, it's solid, you're still connected to them. So the fourth sign you're in a relationship with a narcissist is mixed messages. And these can be between their actions and their words. So they just don't match. So for example, they might say that they support you in any endeavor and they've got your back and they want the best for you. But then their actions are completely unsupportive. They will, withdraw any kind of support. They might become a time suck when you're trying to do the things that you want, and then all of a sudden they'll just have a kind of weird emergency that takes your time away from what they say that they're supporting you with. But then in reality, it's just not like that. So they can really sabotage you and the things that you want for yourself and in your life. And they don't care. They don't care about the things that you want for yourself and in your life. These mixed messages can also be between the words they say at one time and then the words that they say at a later date. And oftentimes it's not that much later. So they might say that they love you and that you're the most wonderful, the most beautiful person they've ever met. This is the best relationship they've ever had. But then in another moment, they might say how easily replaced you are. You make it very difficult to love you. I want to love you, but you make it so hard. Or all of these, they can be quite cryptic words. Like this word salad that's very confusing and hard to understand. Like, how am I making it hard for you to love me? It makes no sense. These mixed messages, obviously at the start of the relationship, there'll be love bombing and saying all these wonderful things in this over dramatic honeymoon period. But as the relationship goes on, they will completely change their tune and they'll be putting you down. It can also happen, just within the course of one day. They can say that they love you one moment, but then in another moment tell you how easily replaced you are. These mixed messages can also be that their body language doesn't actually match what they're saying. So they might say something really nice, but their body language is really standoffish, and you just get this distinct feeling that this isn't a compliment. Or they might say something really, really cruel, but they'll say it in a nice manner, like maybe they're just trying to help you or something. So you can end up feeling really confused and you can't quite put your finger on, well, what was true? Was it what they said or how they said it? And yeah, it's a mind F. So again, this all comes down to a real lack of consistency in their behaviour and how they blow hot one minute and then cold the next, which really creates an inconsistent environment where you can end up in this crazy making cycle of abuse, where one moment you're idolized by them and then the next you're devalued and then maybe discarded, and then they might continue this cycle over and over again. And it's like being in a washing machine, like, well, what cycle am I on? Like, you're just being thrown every which direction, and your internal barometer just gets so discombobulated. You don't know what's what. You don't know what's up from what's down. And you don't know where you stand. The fifth sign is envy and jealousy. Oh, this is an interesting one, because I remember in the first relationship I had with a narcissist, I didn't really realize how they were envious and jealous until after the relationship. That can often happen in a relationship with a narcissist. It's like all too much when you're in it, but then when you leave and have time and perspective away from them, or even if you just get distance, you know, before you've left, you really start to see what was actually happening. So I had no idea envy and jealousy was playing a role in this relationship, but it really was. So basically, a narcissist has some issues when it comes to envy and jealousy, like no matter what way you look at it. And also it's because they can't own the fact when they're feeling envious or jealous, because they can't own the vulnerability of that. So they don't handle these feelings very well. They would probably be unlikely to come out and say, oh, I felt jealous or envious when you did that, and communicate in that healthy way. But the way that envy and jealousy does come out of them is maybe by putting someone else down or raging. If they feel threatened by someone else, they might put them down. They might be angry outbursts. They might have further attempts to gain control because they felt threatened. They might be envious or jealous of something that someone else has and they want it for themselves. And if they think that it's possible to get it for themselves, then they might play the guilt card, where they will say how much they want this thing and if only they could have this thing. And the other person might take the bait and feel sorry for them and be manipulated to give them this thing. And they really feel like they deserve what other people have. And this really feeds into the entitled expectations I talked about in my previous video, where they feel like they just deserve more than other people. And they're just not genuinely happy for other people when other people are doing well and having success, maybe climbing the social ladder or whatever it is. When other people succeed, they can often feel like there's less for them, unless they feel like they can take a part of responsibility for that other person's success. So if they can connect themselves to that success that someone else has had in some way, then it will reflect well on them. Then they might be happy because it's about them. They see everything as a competition. If someone else is doing well, then they interpret this as, well, then there's less for me. If someone else has more power, then there's less power for me. Like, they live in a world of limited resources and a real kind of like lack mentality, where they need the power, they need the control. Like, this can't be shared. It's interesting how this jealousy and envy can manifest and present itself, because a lot of the time it can be sexual. So they might be jealous of anyone that's around you, where they feel threatened by that. It could be a work colleague or some friends, or yeah, literally anyone that you're spending your time with. But it doesn't have to be sexual for them to be jealous. So they could be highly jealous of another family member or a friend or even a pet or even a child. And they really despise the energy and the attention that this other person or animal gets from you, because of their insatiable need for attention themselves. I mean, the whole narcissism thing is so interesting. That's why I make videos on it. It's so interesting because they're envious and jealous of your other relationships and things that take you away from the relationship. But when you give those up, they are incapable of being connected and close to you. So you really can't win. And this is one of those areas where you might not even realize in the situation, in the moment, that they are envious and jealous. They can often come across as being highly confident. And perhaps in the beginning they said everything was, fine. They don't mind that your time is taken away with other family members or commitments, or you have a pet. But as the relationship develops, like I said, there's mixed messages and their tune will change. But not just that, sometimes when they're feeling envious or jealous, in the moment, they might not react in that exact moment. They may react much later, and sometimes that's when it's behind closed doors. And so when they do react, it might come as a real surprise because their rage seems to have come from nowhere, and you might not even connect it to what happened earlier. This used to happen to me in my first relationship with a narcissist, where we would be out with friends, or maybe we'd go and watch someone performing music, and I just thought it was a pleasant evening. But then when I got home and away from other people, they would erupt and they would be rageful about something that happened, or something that I did, or something that I said, or the way I looked at someone, or the way I was focused on a performer, or the way that I danced, or the way that I stretched, or it could be any number of things. And it can seemingly come out of nowhere because you actually thought that you had a nice evening together. That's just an example from my life. At the time, I didn't realize that these outbursts were actually about envy and jealousy because of the way they presented themselves as being confident and kind of this grandiose persona that they had. So they may try and make you jealous by maybe telling you about some of their other amazing relationships and amazing connections that they have with other people. I've also seen this envy and jealousy play out in service-based industries with some colleagues in the past, so it's not specifically dating, but I noticed that they really resented being of service to other people, and they would resent the customers or their clients because they want to have things done for them, and they believe that other people should be serving them and doing things for them. I wonder if you relate so far to any of these signs of dating a narcissist. And if you do, or maybe you've had a slightly different experience, then if you feel comfortable, just comment below on what your experience is, and we can compare and contrast how these personality traits play out, because there are, some differences from person to person. I think the key traits stay the same: the lack of empathy, the not taking responsibility. But the way that this comes out, or is yielded out of the narcissist, can look a little bit different from person to person. Okay, so the sixth sign you're dating a narcissist is that they cannot take responsibility for their actions or any consequences that came as a direct result of their actions. Because for them, nothing is ever their fault. They will always find a way to shift the blame onto you, or onto someone else, or onto a series of events or anything. They will bring things up from the past that maybe you did, or things from their past that therefore justify their actions. Or perhaps they will just deny their actions and say that they just didn't do it. So if you or someone else points out their bad behaviour, this may trigger a shame in them, and they cannot deal with this sense of shame. They need to get away from it. So it's like shame is a hot potato, and they just need to pass it or throw it as quickly as they can onto someone else, onto the nearest target or onto the easiest target, by denying or projecting or anything they can. So it becomes nothing short of a nightmare when you find yourself in a relationship with someone who cannot take any responsibility. Usually in a relationship, both people would have some element of responsibility because there's more than one person interacting with each other. But with a relationship with a narcissist, for any issues, they will just put the blame onto the other person and the responsibility onto the other person. So the word relationship has the word relate embedded into it, but in a relationship with a narcissist, they're really not relating to you and what your experience actually is. So you might hear them say things like, I only did that because you did that, or I only said that because you said this. They will often drag up the past when you do have an issue. It just becomes even more complicated to try and resolve anything with them. If a narcissist is going to apologize, which is often a rare event, but if they are, you'll find that it's worded in a really weak way. It's like a really distilled, fake version of an actual sincere apology. You might hear things like, I'm sorry you feel that way, or I'm sorry you are so emotional, or something like that. And it sort of points to the problem really being you. The problem is that you took offense. The problem is you're insecure, or you're too sensitive. The problem isn't their behaviour or anything to do with their behaviour. So they will do anything to not be held accountable, and this is really, really crazy making behaviour, and it often makes no logical sense. If you're in a relationship with a narcissist, it becomes a very toxic, negative experience, and the effects on you are just insidious. The 7th sign you're dating a narcissist is that they have an inability to solve issues within the relationship. And this is really a knock-on effect from their inability to take responsibility for their own behaviour. Because if they do take responsibility for their own behaviour, then there'll be consequences. But for them, if they don't take responsibility for their behaviour, then there won't be any consequences. There won't be any change. There won't be any repercussions. And it's like their actions are just null and void. It reminds me a bit of a child who's like eaten all the cookies from the cookie jar, and they've got crumbs and chocolate all around their mouth, and they've been caught red-handed doing this, but yet they will still swear blind that they didn't eat any cookies and that it wasn't them. They are able to deny their own actions in the face of any evidence, any incriminating evidence. And so like a small child, they will just make excuses or deny their behaviour to get out of any consequences of that behaviour. For them, if they don't admit to anything, then there's no problem, and then there's no problem to resolve. And then this means that there is no conflict resolution whatsoever in this kind of a relationship. You'll often find in a relationship like this that it gets worse and worse, and as the issues pile up, their coping strategy and their tactics to avoid the issues become stronger. So they'll be deflecting even more. They might throw around some even stronger insults, and they might rage more. There might be longer silent treatments. It often escalates. You really just never ever get a sense of closure with any of the issues or in a relationship with a narcissist. They might start sulking more, becoming more withdrawn, acting more vulnerable every time you bring something up. And the way that they act may depend on whether they're an overt, grandiose, confident narcissist, or someone who appears more vulnerable and they appear weaker, like someone that you need to help. And this is the overt and the covert narcissist. And I'm going to make some separate videos on those two styles of narcissism and the different ways that they play out. But a covert narcissist is more likely to withdraw affection, withdraw attention, to rage more. Whereas the overt narcissist would have more temper tantrums and more outward rages. I think the key thing here is that when you have issues in a relationship with a narcissist, they will escalate and become more of an issue over time, not less of an issue over time. The 8th sign you're dating a narcissist is that it feels bad. And I know this sounds really obvious by this stage in the video, obviously it feels bad. But I just wanted to highlight this because I started my first video on signs you're dating a narcissist on the honeymoon period and how good it feels in the beginning. So it's really worth stating how bad this relationship develops over time. Because it clearly doesn't start out how it finishes. And if it did, we wouldn't stick around for it. We wouldn't stay. But over time, this continuous battle of being belittled and receiving mixed messages and having the silent treatment, or having them rage and act out, or having them just withdraw from you and not connect with you and not want to work on resolving issues and not take any responsibility, all of these things can just really work to erode your sense of self and just take such a huge toll on you. And you lose so much energy in this kind of a relationship. You really lose yourself in this relationship. This relationship can also become all-consuming, where you feel like all you're thinking about is this person and this relationship, and how can I save my relationship, and what can I do? And if you're, out with friends or at work or wherever you are, you just find it really hard to focus on anything else except for the narcissist. Even when you leave the relationship, you can still just be focused so much on the narcissist and on trying to make sense of all of this. If you're still in the relationship, you might really focus on trying to get a sense of safety and a sense of comfort and just the good feelings that you had in the beginning of this relationship back. And so you might end up being on like a hamster wheel where you're just trying different things. You're trying to be good. You're trying not to raise issues. You're trying all of these things just to hope and wish that the good parts of the relationship and the person that you're in a relationship with comes back to you. But it doesn't happen. This is the relationship. The relationship is them idolizing you and then devaluing you and perhaps discarding you. This relationship is this never-ending cycle, and it starts really good, but then it just gets worse and worse with time. As this cycle repeats itself, you might get glimpses of them treating you well and just have so much hope that the person that you met is coming back and everything's going to be okay. It's not true. It's just them oscillating between idolizing you and devaluing you. It's them oscillating between wearing their mask where they buy into their own self-image, and then the mask dropping because the self-image isn't true, because they can't hold themselves accountable and responsible. They can't feel these strong emotions of shame and feeling like they did something wrong. It's too much for them. If you think back to how you were before you met this person compared to where you are when you've been in the relationship for a few months or weeks or even years, you'll see a marked difference for the worse. You'll notice your self-esteem, your self-belief, your energy, just your sense of self has eroded. And other people might also notice this difference in you as well. And they might remark that you're just not yourself anymore. Maybe you're extra anxious, or you've lost your sparkle or something. You can start to feel like a shell of your former self, and a large part of this is actually from the energetic loss that you feel from being in a relationship with someone like this, from putting so much of your attention onto somebody that is giving you nothing in return. So that was 8 signs that you're dating a narcissist. And I wonder, out of all of these signs, maybe from this video or from both of the videos I've made now, how many of these signs you identify with. I really hope that this video has been helpful for you. Now, at the start of the video, I said we talk and take action on healing from narcissistic abuse. So what is the action that you can take? This energetic loss that you might experience in a relationship with a narcissist is so important for me to mention here, because I experienced this so much myself, and I did a process that really helped me take my focus off the narcissist and apply it back to myself. And not only that, I was able to take all the energy that I'd been putting into this relationship and all of my life force and bring it back to my center, bring it back to myself. And the process is called psychic cord cutting or energetic cord cutting. This is something I work with my clients. This is one of the most powerful things that you can do initially to get over the relationship with a narcissist. Feel free to reach out and contact me if you have any questions or you want to leave any comments below. Share this video with anyone that you think might need to see it. And if you're interested in going further on your healing journey with me, then you can check out my services, one-on-one coaching and hypnotherapy, and hopefully soon to come courses so that you can take your power back and you can heal from this kind of relationship trauma. And not only heal from it, you can move on and have really healthy, wonderful relationships in your future. So for now, sending you so many wishes for you in your healing journey. Take care. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe so that you're notified every time I upload a new weekly video. If you head on over to revelationtherapy.com, I've also created a few free resources for you to help you on your healing journey. There's currently a free workbook and a checklist, and I'm adding to those all the time. So be sure to check those out. I'll leave the link in the description below. And if you have any questions at all, you can find me on most social media channels at Revelation Therapy. For now, sending you so many positivities to help you on your healing journey, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Ooh, and that is how you press record. Oh, I sit in some weird positions. Ugh. This video featuring Potato the bear. You are going to feature. Yep, you are going to feature, Potato. You're going to be my helper healer bear. The fifth sign is envy and jealousy. So they may be, I'm making myself laugh because of the potato thing. What do I say next? I'm using a teleprompter for this video, and we'll see if it makes me less rambly. Well, it does depend on the narcissist. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. You can put this in an outtake, but they won't know what I'm doing. I'm scrolling through my notes because I'm not gonna say this because this video was too long, and I'm going to put it in the controlling video. Okay, I'll start the next one. It's nice doing yoga outside, but when you get bitten everywhere, it's a bit annoying. Why aren't I so itchy? There's just going to be red marks all over me, like scratch, 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 scratch. Like, it's like you press record and then you just want to do all this stuff that's not appropriate on camera. Like itch everywhere and like scratch your nose and things. Okay, anyway, I digress. The third sign is that there is a real lack of authentic connection. They are not human. They're vampires. Emotional vampires. Emotion is their blood of choice. It can feel, yeah, I've said that. It can feel totally unprovoked. Oh, notification. I can't help but look. Okay. This might give them a little bit of a power trip. Sorry, I just knocked my microphone. They may be envious and jealous of you. I just changed like from chatty me to presenter me, and that was weird. Okay, so the fourth sign you're in a relationship with a narcissist. What is the fourth sign? I haven't even read it. Teleprompter woes. Okay, it's mixed messages. I don't know. I don't know the message. Fourth sign is mixed messages. Mixed messages from them. Oh, I might get confused trying to explain this. I struggled to separate the self that I am from the self that I am not. That's the thing about healing from narcissistic abuse. You have to accept yourself. You have to accept your quirks and your weirdness. Whereas in a healthy relationship, people will itch their nose whenever they want. And it's not a problem. It's not a problem for the narcissist if you itch your nose. I'm joking, but I'm actually serious. Like, in some relationships I've had with narcissists, it was a problem that I needed to go to the toilet because I was interrupting their story, or even though it had gone on for 2 hours. Sorry, I'm being distracted by my bubbles. I hope you can't hear them. Oh, I get so excited. I hope you can't hear all the noise. Yeah, okay, I'm just gonna start from that bit. I do go off on some tangents, don't I? Certain things I was gonna say then, and I'm not gonna say them because I know if I say them, they'll go in the outtakes. Okay, I'm learning, I'm getting wiser. I'm not that wise because I've left the recorder. The remote control. Okay. I'd also prefer that wasn't in the outtake, me just like eating my lip balm in that weird way that I do. It's interesting that everything is stuck in my teeth. See, I got out of my flow and my rhythm, and now I cannot find my flow and my rhythm. I'm just really excited to finish this video. I'm super. So when you have an issue, your issue gets placed on top of previous issues, and the issues just pile up and up and up and up and up. And the issue that they might see is the fact that you have so many issues. That to them is the issue, when actually the issue is none of these issues get resolved and they just become ongoing. Wow, I've never whistled so well. Where'd that come from? I wonder if I could do a merry tune. Basically, I'm just waiting for 30 minutes to see if my camera still records after 30 minutes. Oh, maybe we'll get another drinky poos. So hum a merry tune. Do, 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 do. It won't be long, I'll sing my song and everything will be fine. La 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 la. Yeah, why can I not speak? Thing is ever their fault. Fault? Nothing is ever their fault. They have an I have an inability to tell you what that is. That was super random, it just stopped recording. So we faffed about with that, and then I ate lunch, and then I spilled my lunch down me, so I've moved my mic to cover the spillage. I was wondering if the teleprompter also acted as a mirror, but it does not. That probably shows my silliness, doesn't it? Because it's like just a piece of plastic glass. Oh, could you close the door, please?
I can do that.
Thank you. So the 8th and final sign in this video, it's not the final sign. I hope that it's helped you. I've already said that. Thank you so much for watching this video. Feel free to contact me. You can feel free to contact me. Positivity. I feel like, how can I send positivity when someone's in a situation like that? So for you, sending you healing vibes. Healing vibes? I don't really like vibes. What can I send? Oh man. Okay. I hate telling people to subscribe. You don't have to subscribe. Just subscribe if you want to. If you don't like it, don't subscribe.